Yeah.
What's happening, people? Welcome back to the Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast. In this episode, we'll be reviewing the Newcastle defeat and previewing Chelsea in the Premier League. You know who I am. I'm Harry Scarfe, your host as always. For tonight, let's introduce my fantastic panel. Firstly, Matt, joining from the US. Matt, how you doing?
I'm good. I was over in your neck of the woods last week for a business trip, so that was quite lovely to be over there. I brought the rain with me, apparently, since it rained there more than it had in 2 months. So apologies for the bad weather, I guess. But yeah, I'm back over stateside here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and looking to talk Newcastle and Chelsea. Should be a lively discussion today.
Absolutely should be. Thank you for giving us your time. And I mean, yeah, the weather was not very kind to us or you, that's for sure. I think we can all agree on that. Thank you, though. Marc, welcome back onto the podcast. It's been a little while. How have you been doing?
Good, thank you. Yeah, it's good to be back. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Good to have you. Sorry about the circumstances. Could be better, couldn't it?
I don't worry about that.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. And Ian, welcome back onto the podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Always disappointed when you go out of a cup, but we will no doubt talk about the mitigating circumstances surrounding it. And we move onwards and upwards, and Chelsea at home on Saturday. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm good.
Good stuff. Thank you very much. For listening via audio podcast platform, don't forget to drop us a follow and a 5-star review. If you're listening on YouTube, like and subscribe. We have 5 actually now, correct me, non-paid partners. So big shout out to all of them in the Kitman, firstly. Secondly, Everything Spurs Discord. Then you've got Dan Gay Support Service Limited. You've got In the 290 and Tottenham Programme Collector, the 5th partner. So shout out to all of them. Check them out across all socials. Before we get into the game, there was a bit of breaking news that come in before we went on air, and that is former Tottenham goalkeeper Alfie Whiteman has retired from professional football at the age of 26. He's joined some such as a director and also photographer. Marc, can I get your reaction to this firstly?
I thought he'd retired 6 years ago. I've got to be honest. He was only kept on and contracted to be a club-trained, homegrown player for the European games and European squad. And they could have paid me to do that. I could have sat there and done nothing. For 20 grand a week or whatever. Thanks very much. Yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Ian, can I get your thoughts on this, but also what you've made of him?
I didn't pick that up. I'm usually glued to my phone, and I usually pick up these things. I didn't get it. Yeah, I think. I'm inclined to share Marc's cynicism. I'm assuming that having been released by Tottenham, he couldn't find another club, so he's just decided I'm chucking it. I don't know. There's always games. Maybe there are in America or lower leagues. You want to play in the second division in Scotland for £500 a week, fine. Look, I think if he's got other plans and thinks he can do better things with his life, good luck to the boy.
Yeah, exactly that. Fair enough. Matt, what have you made of his Spurs career at the time he did wear the shirt for Spurs, which wasn't very often?
I mean, all I'll say is it must be nice to have a job where you can announce you're retiring at 26 years old. That's,
Yeah.
I'd like that line of work.
Yeah, exactly that. But no, I would just like to say, wish him all the best. It comes a bit of a shock, but it's something apparently that he really wanted to do, and he's really excited about it. So if that be true, then wish him all the best. But we'll move on from that. It becomes a bit of a surprise. On to the Newcastle review then. So let's go through both lineups for people who didn't see it. Spurs, their lineup was Kinski, Porro, Paulinho, Danso, Spence in the back line, Bentancur, Sarr and Bergvall. Then an attack of Simmons, Johnson and Richarlison. Then substitutes in Austin, Gunter, Roswell, Van der Ven, Olise, Kudus, Tell, Moani and Scarlett. The Newcastle lineup, which is interesting because they made wholesale changes but still had a strong starting 11. They went with Ramsdale, Kraft, Cher, Chow, Byrne, Tonali, Willock, Ramsey, Alanga, Barnes, Automata. Then the substitutes were Pope, Botman, Trippier, Miley, Joelinton, Guimaraes, Gordon, Murphy, and Asula. Matt, what were your thoughts going back to the Tottenham lineup when you saw it at the time? Any surprises in there for you?
we had this chat a little bit in our group chat that we were trying to kind of figure out exactly what the lineup shape would be, because it kind of felt like it could have gone, I don't know, one of four ways, I guess, right? We could have trying to figure out if it was really a back three, and then like five midfielders and a front two, or if it was, standard 4-3-3 or whatnot. I did think it was interesting playing, because Paulinho wound up playing center back, basically. So I did think that was interesting. He still found a way to put Paulinho and Bentancur in the lineup together, yet not in the midfield. And I could see why you would want to rest some guys, because we've got quite a lot of injuries going on right now. And getting rotation is key. But I did have concerns that I wasn't sure how it was going to work when I first saw it, because it was a decent amount of changes, and also who was playing where, and would they figure out their roles quickly enough. But I don't know. I thought it was an okay lineup. I mean, it does show we have a decent level of depth, even with the injuries. But it was kind of we had like an hour-long wait to see how it would actually play out, because we were guessing what it would be. If you looked at like one app, it showed the lineup in one formation. And if you looked at the Premier League app, it showed a lineup of a different formation. So it seemed like nobody knew exactly how we were going to be playing the 10 outfield players that they had penciled in. So yeah, that was kind of my thought on that one.
Okay, thank you, Matthew, for that. It also took an age for Spurs to put the lineup out. Newcastle's come out a whole 11 minutes before, very often. Until, you just don't see that, do you? But Mark, I'll come to you. What were your thoughts on the lineup? Was it stronger overall than you expected, maybe?
No, it's about what I expected. I knew Van der Ven wouldn't play last night. I knew Vicario wouldn't play last night. And with the centre-back situation, no Romero, no Dragusin, no Takai, no Davis, and no Byfield. He's broken his arm, and he's going to miss the Under-17 World Cup because of that. Gutted for the kid.
Didn't know that.
There was nothing else he could have done. No Archie Gray. So what else do you do? Van der Ven needed a rest. We've got Chelsea, followed by Copenhagen, followed by an international break, I think. No, Man United, then an international break. So you can't keep going to the well, especially with his injury history. I know he doesn't have to do 640-yard dashes at 30 miles an hour a game anymore, because we don't play that ridiculous high line. But it was pretty much what I expected. I thought Colomani might start up front. But then again, just gently bring him back in after injury. You don't want to break him. But we've got 11 players missing through injury. We've got 22 outfield players in the squad, and half of them are missing. I mean, it's crazy. And it's not even the fact that he's running them in the ground in training. Archie Gray is the only training ground injury. As you may have seen me put on X if you follow me. 2 of them are from last season, 3 are from pre-season, 3 are from the international break. Romero got injured in the warm-up before a game, and Odebear got injured, picked up a knock during the game against Everton. It's only Archie Gray that's actually picked up a training injury. And you just can't write this anymore. It's just crazy.
Crazy. It's definitely, I think, the right way of putting it across. Thank you, Mark, for that crazy stuff. But Ian, do you agree that now injuries are starting to take the toll on Tottenham? We had 10 or 11 senior players missing for this game.
And I'm trying to blame Ange, because everybody else thinks it's Ange's fault. But, we have to be sensible here. Clearly, there is something much more wrong. I've said this before, and I don't care if people think I'm bonkers. I would carry out an exorcism, because I'm absolutely bloody certain that somebody somewhere has put some sort of jinx on us. And I mean, it's like, don't be stupid. Yeah, I'm half joking and I'm half not. There's an old Jewish joke about, the body's lying there, the rabbi's standing over the body, and a little old woman at the back says, give him some chicken soup, give him some chicken soup. chicken soup being the Jewish remedy for all ills. And the rabbi said, "I'm sorry, madam, it won't help." And she goes, "It won't hurt." And it's the same as the exorcism I'm talking about. Is, hey, I might be totally off my head, but there's something about what's going on that isn't right. It isn't normal. And when you talk about strength, I don't think man for man, Newcastle are better than us. But when we've got 10 players taken, or 11 now, you've got great. And I didn't know about Byfield. I don't know how that one slipped under my radar. And now Byfield out as well. And you go, what on earth is going on? So, I mean, Matt and I were just, I think, mentioned this briefly before we went on air. It might be a blessing in disguise, because with the number of injuries you've got, you cannot keep playing game after game. Players need to rest, players need to be rotated, and you try and fight wars on all fronts, you end up losing all of them. So, yeah, it's a pity. The team, I looked at it, I wasn't sure what the shape would be. Matt, piece of advice: don't look at the apps. Do not look at the apps, because they all tell you something different, and most of them know the sweet FA. Yeah, it was Polina at centre half. I actually think he did quite well. And you want to talk about the game, and I don't want to take too much thunder away from where you're going to go. But for all the makeshift team, for all the players playing out of position, we conceded one controversial goal you'll talk about, and one from a horrific piece of goalkeeping. So when you look at it that way, I see Ronnie's comment about another awful performance. Well, yeah, there's mitigation. I don't think it was that awful, but it wasn't that good. And we talked about Everton you were on my show on Sunday, Harry, and a few Evertonians coming on and saying, yeah, well played, guys, you were good, but we were awful. They didn't get the breaks when they needed the breaks. We didn't get the breaks when we needed the breaks last night. And football, a lot of things in life turns on fine margins. And last night was another example. But I'm not saying it was a great performance, just there was a lot of mitigation there.
Yeah, I'll say two things. One, Ian, you're correct. Matzo ball soup is known as Jewish penicillin. I can say that. I am, in fact, Jewish. That's been a term used in my family my entire life. Two, I would do a root out of the medical staff and see who amongst them was an Arsenal fan as a kid, and see if maybe there's a hex that they have put, because the way that these guys are getting injured is just remarkable. A lot of these guys didn't have injury histories until they got to Tottenham, and now they get here, and now we play a much more conservative style, and yet they're still getting injured. So there was rumblings about that they were going to check into the medical staff last year. I don't know that actually turned anything up, or that they did anything with that.
There's been a fair amount of change, Harry, hasn't there, in the medical side, Matt? Marc,
lots of change, but I don't know what
doesn't seem to have helped. Not sure. And additionally, I wonder if we consider calling Luka back from loan.
Vuskovic.
Yeah.
They can't.
I think that'll be an option if he's going to get
games.
They
can't. No, I know they can't.
Is it contractual?
Yeah, it's a year-long deal with no break.
Definitely no break.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I know he elected it because he wasn't sure he was going to get minutes, which made sense. But now he's going to get minutes.
Yeah.
Well, he's not. Romero is almost.
Time. Romero's back.
Romero's back before the international break.
Yeah.
And
also, Dragason's got a behind closed doors friendly during the international break.
Right.
Who else was there?
Davies. Davies is close.
Davies has got a hamstring injury.
Yeah,
so Taco with his foot. He's not back in training with the group yet. But I think Thomas Frank said he was he was out on the grass last week. So I don't know, but so long as you get Romero, and I think you'll see a different Dragusin under Thomas Frank.
I agree. I still like the clips that we saw of Dragusin when we signed him, and I just didn't think he fit Ange's high. Like he's not a high line center back. He is a mid to low block center back, stand there and whatnot. So I think once he's back,
with the Palinia protection in front of him and in front of all of them, it's why we've got the second best defense in the Premier League.
Yes.
Who knew having someone like Palinia is what we've needed for years and years and years to protect the back four. Why do you think Arsenal don't get that many shots on target against them? Because Declan Rice is sat there. And the defenders don't have to do a lot of defending.
No, exactly that. Progressing into the game then, 11th minute, Newcastle had quite a big chance for Harvey Barnes, shot wide just inside the box, and what was an electric move from Newcastle. But 24th minute, Newcastle did eventually take the lead through Fabian Schär. Matt, I come back to you. I mean, saw what happened with Spence doing his lace. Do you think it's a case of it's distraction because it took simply so long for him to do it? Or do you think it's the fact he's out of position? And what's the reason we concede here?
I just don't think anybody for us like adjusted. I think the ref doesn't have to stop play to let a guy tie his boot. And he did take an inordinate amount of time to tie his boot. At that point, I may as well just play without the shoe on because, it's just faster. I think if you spot your teammate is down, you got to kind of adjust and remark. I just think it was a chaotic situation, and we didn't do a very good job of adjusting because he got a clean header off. I'm not sure there's really any fault for Kinski. I'm not sure he was out of position or anything. I just think it was, we got to adjust because Spence is like in no man's land. So the fact that he's there means somebody else should be, he's not marking anybody at that point. You've got to adjust and mark the guys that are in the box. Because if they go short, then okay, Spence will get his boot on and cover. But if they go long, you can't just say, oh, well, that guy was 30 yards from the net. It's his fault. You got to rotate.
Okay, thank you very much. Ian, can I come to you? Do you think the referee should have waited a few more seconds, allow Spence to do up his lace, but not get back into position? Or he's just got to get back quicker, do you think as well?
Excuse me, a little bit. I'm an ex-referee, a long time since I did referee, but I'm an ex-referee. And Matt's entirely right. There's nothing that says the referee needs to wait for a player to tie his bootlaces before restarting play. What I thought was odd is having given him that time, and I mean, I'm thinking back to my days, you would normally just hold the play up until the player was back in position facing up and then restart the game. It was just an odd piece of refereeing from a very experienced official who I actually didn't think had a particularly good game. I don't think he was really at it the whole game. I don't know whether that would have meant a difference, whether we'd have defended that better. Spence might have been near post. The ball would have missed. I don't think where he was. The ball would have missed the first defender. So that's not a mitigation. The defending in the middle of the goal was pretty ordinary. I think Richarlison lost him, and we can talk about Richarlison's performance if you want, which was pretty abject. It was not a sensible piece of refereeing. I mean, that's the one thing you do. There's 14 laws, law 15, use your common sense. Wait for the player to get back in. It would only take another 2 or 3 seconds, and you've allowed him 45 seconds or whatever to tie his bootlaces. And then there's no controversy. But no, I don't see much in it. We had friends over last night, so I had the telly on, but lowish volume, watching the game. We were all watching it, but I was wondering, I couldn't work out what the players were complaining about. It was only on maybe the Spurs diehards chat, I think maybe Kev Clark said, because so they didn't wait for Spence to get back in position. It was only after I saw that and I thought, yeah, well, defend better.
Yeah, exactly.
Just not great defending. End of.
Thank you, Ian. I mean, of course, you have to focus on things that we can do better, Mark. So I'll come to you on that. Firstly, on the goalkeeper, it's interesting because I personally looked at that and I don't think he's completely like at fault, but is he blameless? Because he seems very slow to react.
Can I go back to just right at the beginning of that sequence of events? So Spence blocks the cross. Alanga's studs get caught on Spence's laces, which causes them to come undone and not, which is why it took him so long. If you watch it really carefully, that's why it took him so long. He had to take the boot off, undo the knot, and then put the boot back on. Secondly, if you watch Newcastle's first two corners, no prizes for guessing who Jed Spence was picking up. Fabian Schär at both of them. So you've now got a player who scores the goal completely unmarked because the referee hasn't allowed the defender to get back into position. I mean, please don't get me started on Chris Kavanagh. I thought he was appalled. It was anything worse than Kinski last night.
Was it not Paulson referee?
No, it wasn't. Paulson was at the weekend, who I really dislike, but who I actually thought.
Yeah, it was Kavanagh.
Chris Kavanagh was abjectly appalling.
I think he had a thing against Spence because he also didn't give Spence 2 free kicks when he got tossed like a
you know, as a referee, the lines that a referee runs when he sees Randall Colomwani running through the midfield with the
ball, he gets right in front of him.
And then he thinks, I know, I'm just going to run straight across in front of him. I mean,
yeah, it's interesting. I hadn't picked that up, Mark. That's one of the things from only sort of having half an eye on the match because we had friends over. But
and then we'll get onto it. I'm sure we will, Harry. Is that assault by Joe Linton on Kudus, with both feet off the ground, a scissor challenge. And then he grabs Xavi Simons aggressively round the neck. I know, I'll give Kudus and Joe Linton a yellow card each. I mean, that's just bizarre.
Linton does that Joe Linton does that every week.
Yeah,
he is, and he gets away with it every week.
I don't understand it. But going back to the thing, that's why Fabian Schär was unmarked, because it was Jed Spence. So, but a bit of a double whammy. Yes, they should defend better. And yes, Kinski, I think, could have been stronger. He sort of dived backwards with Joe Hart-type wrists. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, forgive you. No, thank you, Mark. Ian, before we move on from that, I mean, what we can control is, I'm going to say you can still control marking. Mark's absolutely right, and I didn't realise it. It was Jed Spence actually picking up Fabian Schär. That's really interesting. I knew it was in the kind of perimeter of that because of how lack of bodies were there for Spurs. But has someone got to read that situation for Spurs and be a bit clever almost and go, look, he's down. What if this happened? And you need these teams, don't you? What if? And they say it, don't you? With a quick throw. What if it's taken quickly? It felt like one of them, but with a corner, we weren't. You just got to, be prepared, haven't you, for these situations?
Yeah, absolutely. And you go back and you say, I mean, we don't mark man to man. We zonally mark. Most teams zonally mark. But you would think, wouldn't you, intelligent professional footballers would say, he's not there, as in Spence isn't there, someone else needs to be following that position. Albeit in mitigation of that and against that point is, of course, it all happens so quickly. You're probably assuming that the referee is going to do what referees do, which is wait for the player to be back in position and then give the signal for the kick to be taken. I mean, I agree the referee was really poor last night, which is another discussion maybe you want to have later about the impact of VAR when VAR isn't in operation. In other words, the referees have always got the safety net of VAR coming in to save them. Whereas in this competition, until the semi-finals, they don't have the luxury of VAR saving them. So if they make a bad decision. But having said that, it's nothing to do with VAR. VAR wouldn't have overturned. VAR wouldn't have said, oh, no, ref, you need to wait until you needed to wait till Spence was back in position. It was just shit refereeing.
No, that's a good point. Thank you very much, Ian. 25th minute, Richarlison got booked for Tottenham, and the 33rd minute, Paulinho got booked for Spurs. 40th minute, Newcastle had a chance where Harvey Barnes actually hit the bar. It was a difficult chance for him because it was behind him. Needed a little bit of acrobatics, but he did hit the bar. And then you've got the first minute of stoppage time in the first half. Also, Newcastle got booked another player, this time Malik Chow. So half-time, Newcastle went into the break with a 1-0 lead. Matt, what were your thoughts on the first half? Do you feel that maybe the game was there for the taking at that point? Could Tottenham have gone on, had a better second half and got back into it?
Yeah, I mean, it's only one goal. It's one that, got given up in questionable circumstances we just talked about. But I do think that kind of the effect of the reffing in the first half, and then the fact that we didn't wind up making halftime subs kind of tilted it, right? Because now instead of focusing on, we're only one goal down, and we're actually like the last 15 minutes of the first half was really good. I thought we were off kilter for about the first 30 minutes, and then we got into the game. And then the last 15 minutes of the first half, we were putting pretty good pressure on them and made Ramsdale make some I mean, I don't think we actually made him make elite level saves. I think most of the shots kind of wound up pretty easy saves for him. But I do think that instead of the focus being on, hey, we can get back into this, it was like, this is a place we don't usually do well. The ref hates us, because all of the yellows were for arguing with the ref or saying something terrible to the fourth official. Almost none of our yellows were actually for on-field stuff in the first half. So I thought the first half went okay, and I was like, okay, if we come out quickly in the second half and we make some subs, we can get back into this if we pick up where we left off. That didn't really. One team came out of the locker room and was like, we're going to win this, and the other team came out and like, let's kind of survive and hope we get out. We were the latter. That was kind of how I was feeling at halftime was, hey, let's make some key subs, and we're right back in this.
Exactly, yeah, 100% agree with that. Thank you. Marc, 46th minute then, moving on to the second half. Newcastle had a chance through Joe Willock, who head just wide. I mean, do you think he gets caught in two minds? He's got Watermada there, he's got the goal there. It looks like it's an in-between, isn't it? And just makes a mess of it.
I think he got caught in three. I think he got caught in three minds, let alone two. I mean, it was. I actually thought Richarlison had swapped teams for a moment. I really fully expected the net to bulge when that cross came in. He was almost on his own, and he just got it wrong. Huge sigh of relief, and just he's an average player.
Yeah, so he should be doing better.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I'll still let him go. And, I think he's been okay for Newcastle. We still can't find his place kind of in that lineup regularly. But Marc, sticking with you, 49th minute, Newcastle double their lead through Nick Watermada. I mean, not a good start to the half at all with that chance where we were warned through Willock, didn't learn from it and conceded just a couple of minutes later.
It's just a poor goal, and it's just goalkeeping, decision making. And he's young and he will make mistakes, but if he stays on his line, it's literally like a back pass header. It's little cushion header. I mean, there's nothing to it. He just picked it up, gathered it, and got on with the game. So, and again, you've got to look at who you're playing against. Watermada's 6'6", 6'7". Even as a goalkeeper, with you jumping with your fist, you've got to go some to beat him in the air.
And that's what that's what
they Croucher. But Kinski's 22 years old. He's young. Hasn't had a lot of football recently, so it is what it is.
Exactly that. Thank you.
Hold your hands up, you go, and you move on.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to make mistakes. That's the reality. But Ian, I've got to ask, what was Kinski thinking? We all agree probably he's in the wrong, but can you understand maybe why he's gone for it, or is it just a moment of madness?
No, I don't. I genuinely don't. And what was he trying to do? I mean, as Mark said, if he'd have stayed at home, the ball would have just sailed over the head probably and gone away. No, it was an abysmal piece of goalkeeper. But I think there's a wider issue here, that there's been talk that the club behind the scenes, that the club are not happy with Kinski, that his attitude hasn't been right and he's not been progressing. In training, he's not showing as a 22-year-old, Mark, as you were saying, he's young. You would expect to be seeing some, really almost some exponential growth in his ability. And apparently they're not seeing that at all. 2 weeks ago, people were saying Vicario's not good enough. Get Vicario out, get Kinski in. 2 games later, Vicario at Everton and in Monaco has made a number of miraculous saves. We kept 2 clean sheets, and now it's Kinski's the fall guy. But I'm not convinced about Kinski. I know his distribution and what have you is pretty good. He's good with his feet, but I mean the bottom line with a goalkeeper is keep the ball out of your net, and at the moment he's not proving adept at that. Whether we'll see him again, maybe in the FA Cup if we get a Doncaster Rovers or something, I don't know. Goalkeeper, I know, is not one of the priority targets for another player, but I wonder if a top 4 side would have 2 goalkeepers, one of whom was Vicario and the other was Kinski. I think we're one light there.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Appreciate your honesty with that. Matt, I'll come to you. In terms of what else we could have done better, do you think Joe Willock was allowed too much time to put the ball into the box? So I watched it back. I didn't realise it at the time, but I saw the highlights. He was allowed to take 2 touches inside our box, and he could have made another 5 if he wanted to. That's surely not right.
Correct. Yeah, I think ultimately it's on Kinski, because he, again, if he stays on his line, that header is nothing. But yeah, you can't allow a guy to have that much time to do something in your box and then, go blame somebody else for it going in. Ultimately, we needed to close down on Willock certainly faster than we did, or at least make that cross a lot tougher, to get in. For sure. But, I saw that go in and it reminded me of the when Burnley beat Wolves this past weekend. The third goal for Burnley that was just like a touch that just rolled very gently into the goal because the Wolves keeper came out and thought he could beat the guy to the ball and didn't, and then it just got put past him. That was kind of what it reminded when Kinski got beat. And then on replay, I was like, oh well, maybe Kinski got there and Voltamont is just bigger. No, he doesn't. He doesn't even touch the ball. So I think there's a lot going on there where center backs and fullbacks need to certainly close out a little more. And I'm also not 100% sure we did ourselves favors by trying to play the back when Newcastle presses so well. That it allowed them. At one point I was watching, there's 5 or 6 Newcastle players all sitting at like our 18-yard box trying to make us pass past them, and we couldn't even get it to midfield before it was cut off. So I'm not sure we did ourselves favors with that, nor closing out, and then obviously Kinski with the final death knell of.
And this is a real problem when you play Richarlison, Matt, because the beauty of if Newcastle or any opponent plays a high press, if you've got the ability, and Kinski's got great ability at that, picking a pass over the press, you play through the press or over the press. Right. Kinski's very good at that. Your problem with that is when it goes to someone, I call Richarlison the Sabutio man, if you all know what Sabutio is. Where the ball hits him and sort of just ricochets off. I mean, he has no ability to control the ball. So, if Richarlison, the ball could be clipped into Richarlison, around the centre circle, and he picks it up and plays a little triangle passes. You know, within 3 seconds, you're in behind. You might be in behind the opposition. But if you've got someone like Richarlison who can't hold the ball up, you've really got no out ball, and that creates a problem.
Thank you very much. But Ian, sticking with you, I mean, Voltemade got that second goal. He's absolutely on fire, isn't he, at the minute for Newcastle? How well is he doing for you?
No, he's doing brilliantly. And when you think, the irony is, I can't remember what they paid for him, 60 million, something like that. But they got 125 million for Isak, who looks like he's like Billy's boots. Looks like he's never played football before when he's in a Liverpool shirt. Very different style, very different team. And it's going to take him a long time to adapt. If he can adapt to a very different style. Newcastle, very much a counter-attacking team. Number of one-on-ones he got when he was played through when the press or whatever. He looks a good player, looks a good signing, big presence, something we don't have.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point, actually. Thank you. 57th minute, Newcastle got another booking through Fabian Schär. In the 60th minute, Tottenham had a chance. Pat Matasar was denied by Ramsdale. 66th minute, Tom had another chance. Richarlison was denied by Ramsdale. I want to talk about this chance in particular. Marc, I'll come to you. Do you think this was Richarlison's best chance of the game? And do you think he does well? Because he is tightly marked to force a save from Ramsdale. It's the one where he, a little flick.
Yeah, I mean, he was unlucky with that one, but it was all the other chances that he just no power in the header, not directing it in the right place. You're taught as a youngster, the cross comes in from one side, you head it back. Head it back from whence it came, which he didn't do. And you go back to Sunday, the chance when he was clean through with Pickford. Even Pickford joked with him at the corner and said, "Why didn't you just dink it over me?"
Yeah,
I mean, I mean that's just.
Yeah, there was also the one where it looked like
he's in a bad place. Yeah, he's not in a great place, and we all know with his mental health issues from the last year or two, and him being so open about it, that it's a really fragile, thin line with Richarlison. I think he's under contract until summer of 27. I can't see him being there after this season. I just can't. I think the club are in a place where they'll just suffer. Well, won't suffer any losses because he'd have been paid for by then. Because I think that it's amortized over 4 years, or I think the deal was amortized over 4 years, so it'll be paid for. So anything we get for him, £3.50 and a Chick King voucher will be. I'm being harsh, but I just think it's an area where I keep reading that people are saying we suffer because we don't have a top goal scorer. We're the joint top scorers in the Premier League. We scored the same number of goals as Chelsea in the Premier League last season. Chelsea finished 4th. We scored 5 less than Arsenal. Arsenal finished 2nd. Scoring goals is not a problem. What's been the problem this season is 86 goal contributions have been removed from that team, with Kulu, Son, Maddison and Solanke. 3 injured, 1 sold. That's 54 goals and 32 assists. If you add in Johnson's 25 goal contributions, because he hasn't been playing much, you're in excess of 110 goal contributions from last season removed from the team. Yet we're still joint top scorers in the Premier League, Man City. And we've got the second best defence. Oh, but it's not sustainable. Well, we did it last season. We scored the same number of goals as Chelsea without a top goal scorer. So it can't be right and it can't be wrong. My opinion, we do need a top striker, because you'll get those close games, the 1-0 loss, the 2-1 loss, you might get a goal. But we are suffering injuries, players missing, and players misfiring. I want to see Kolo Muani given a run in the team. I think he's a fantastic footballer. I mean, he's got great ability on the ball, and he's shown that already in little glimpses. How he is as a regular goal scorer, not sure, but everyone's contributing. We had the years of Kane and Son were the only 2 in double figures The last 3 years Kane was here, we had 2 players in double figures each of the 3 years, and the next highest was 6 goals. Last season, 6 goals with our 7th top scorer. What's more sustainable? Sharing the goals around the team, or relying on Kane and Son, and one of them gets injured? And excuse my French, then you're buggered. So it's. I feel for Richarlison because he's obviously a nice bloke and a genuine bloke, and he tries his hard. Well, you think he sort of tries his hardest. You're never sure. He just looks frustrated and angry with the world most of the time, but you don't know what's going on inside his head. And at the end of the day, I don't care whether you're paid a tenner a week to play football or £500,000 a week. You're a human being, and you get affected by things. Just an aside, Harry. I saw so much rubbish written about Pat Matasar on Sunday. Oh, he didn't celebrate because his goal because he's annoyed with Thomas Frank, or he wants to leave, or this, that, and the other. His mate just got murdered. His mate from the national team, a young goalkeeper who was 19, 20 years old, was murdered at the weekend. You think Sar's going to celebrate a goal, but even some of the pundits do some research. Get your researchers to actually research the players. I mean, the amount of times I have to sit and listen to Alan Smith on commentary talking out of his backside because that's what he does, or Merson, who can't pronounce a single player's name yet he's still employed by Sky for some reason. It's just. I know we're fans, and I know we're passionate about our own club, as every fan is. But do some research, guys. It's really, really, really annoying.
I think
I'm going to get off. I'm going to get off my. I'm going to get off my.
No, I think it makes for good viewing. Mark, I think it makes for good viewing, yeah. But no, I mean, I do agree. I mean, I think the thing with Sarr especially, no one does any research. No one researches anything. Journalists are the laziest people on the planet. I've got to be honest. Hope there's none watching because, but they are. They're just so lazy. I can point to hundreds of examples, not in football, where just if someone had done a little bit of basic research, they'd have actually got the real story rather than just regurgitating something that came from the Press Association or Reuters or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I thought that save by Ramsdale from Sarr was exceptional. That was in the Vicario saves against Monaco class, and that makes a big difference. 2-0 is always the most deceptive lead in football. If it goes to 2-1, it's a very, very different game, and I thought that was a fantastic save by Ramsdale. Absolutely fantastic. And when you think what Kinski did for us as our second choice goalkeeper, and Ramsdale, granted, is a much more experienced goalkeeper, but that save by Ramsdale at that time was absolutely critical. And I said the preamble. Small margins in life and in sport make the difference. Even if you've been the second best team out of 2, they've had the most chances, they've missed chances, whatever. You get one thing like that for Sarr that it goes in the net, and it's a very different game. They're nervous. Their crowd suddenly. Collectively, we're on the front foot. We bring a couple of players on. It's different, and that's life. You just have to accept it. But one thing, and I don't know if you want to raise this, the one real positive I took out of that yesterday was I thought for the first time we started to see the kind of player Xavi Simons might become for us. Because I thought he'd play. I've got 3 nods there on stage. I thought we started to see the kind of player with a bit stronger on the ball, winning the ball, moving past players, and you start to see, do you know what? You've suddenly gone from being sort of 35% of the player to in one game to 70% of the player you're going to be, and I think that was a big should be a big boost for him. I expect him to play again. I think he's a young man, fit again on. I know that you'll come on to the team for Saturday night. I expect him to play again on Saturday night, and to show a real chance to show what he can do. Same with Moani, but I'm probably getting a little bit ahead of myself here.
Yeah, you did my job for me. Talking about talking points.
Being a host, Harry.
Exactly. Yeah, how it feels. Yeah, I love it. No, you're making it easier. Thank you. But no, we'll get onto those two a little bit later. But 65th minute to progress, Spurs made a double substitution on come. The man you mentioned, Colin Moani and Mohamed Kudus, and off went Brennan Johnson and Rodrigo Bentancur. Mark, can I come back to you? Do you think we lost a little bit of control when Bentancur come off? Because someone made the point I saw on X that he's come off in the last 2 games, and they say we lost a little bit of control. And I looked at that and thought, did we ever have control with either of the games where he did come off?
I think we did, certainly. Did he come off in the Everton game?
Yes, apparently.
Okay, so I think we had fairly good control of that. Yes, Vicario had a couple of really good saves to make, but to be honest, nothing else really concerned me against Everton. I thought we were quite comfortable and in control. We were never in control last night. I don't think we were ever... I don't know. It was a weird game because I don't think we played that badly in parts. Some of the football and to create the opportunities for Richarlison to either slip over or air shoot was really lovely football. And you look at the stats after the game, and we had more shots than Newcastle, more shots on target than Newcastle, created more chances than Newcastle. Not quite sure. Well, we didn't take them. That's why we lost. And goalkeeping error. If that goalkeeping error doesn't happen at 1-0, I think we get an equaliser more than Newcastle get a second. Because they were able to then sit back and absorb and bring on Bruno G and who else did they bring on?
Joe
Linton and Anthony Gordon. So a lot of their first choice players, Trippier came on. So it was a lot easier for them, whereas we were sort of hindered and hampered by the injuries. There wasn't a huge amount that Thomas Frank could do. He could sort of tweak the system and just throw everything into attack, and it's a tricky one. It's one of those games where you look back and think, I know how we lost it, but I'm not sure how we lost it. If that makes any sense whatsoever. I try and make sense. Sometimes it makes sense in my head, sometimes it doesn't. But it was I wasn't disappointed we'd lost. I was just a little bit disappointed that we just weren't as clinical as we have been.
Yeah, I was going to say we looked more flat than anything to me. It looked like we weren't really fighting for those loose balls like we've seen in the past. I don't know if we lost control of it. I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know that we ever had control. I will say that watching the broadcast, I don't know that Bentancur's name came up very often, which I guess is either a really good thing or not a good thing, right? Either he's not making mistakes and he's doing his job, so you don't have to mention him, or he's non-existent and no play is going to him. I will say that the midfield in general looked the best it's looked all season. It looked like, in terms of creativity, I don't know about like hold up play and whatnot, but I would say that creatively, that was the best the midfield has looked this season. And I don't know if it's because we didn't have both Palhinha and Bentancur in the midfield at the same time, even though they were both on the field at the same time. My only question with the subs is, why did he wait so long to make the subs? Because I get that the last 15 minutes of the first half, it looked like it was starting to click and you got to let it see if it carries on. But by the time he made the subs, we were chasing the game at that point. Whereas I feel like if he had brought them on maybe about the 50-minute mark, give yourself a little bit more time to, but we can always second guess, right?
Yeah.
Hindsight is 20/20. you don't know. Maybe he brings them on and they score more goals, and then it doesn't. And then you're like, well, why did we get rid of the
In fairness, Matt, he's trying to manage what is now a very, very
Correct.
depleted squad. And
Correct. You got to watch minutes but
the problem is when you can see Matt, when you can see the goal 5 minutes into the second half, unless you've got an injury or someone's picked up a knock or it's going horrifically wrong, you don't generally see managers make changes at half time.
Yeah.
So you're 5 minutes into the second half and goalkeeper makes an absolute howler and you find yourself 2-0 down. He gave it 10 minutes before he brought Colomani and Kudus on. They came on in the 65th minute. The goal was 15 minutes. The goal was the 50th minute. So he gave it 15 minutes. You've got to give it. You can't run players into the ground. Kudus has looked knackered late in games recently. The last few games, he's really tired. The last sort of 10 minutes, he needed a break. And probably the same with Bentancur. You're going to get a good hour or so out of the likes of Bentancur. With his, well, obviously he's had those knee injuries and stuff. So you just got to be careful with so many players missing. The last thing we need is to lose a couple more. And then, I mean, I might be getting a phone call at 57. Ian, I don't think you're getting the call, mate.
I'm 65. Yeah, no, I'm not getting the call. I'm not. Thank God,
Good stuff. Thank you.
But remember, I think as well, just what the boys are saying, Harry, is I'm absolutely certain that Harry Gray, that Archie Gray was going to start the game. And it's not impossible he was going to start at centre half alongside Danso, given because I don't think it would have been his plan to play Polinia in at centre half.
No,
probably not.
I wouldn't have thought so.
So, and then maybe he'd have would have played Pauline, started off with Polinia and Bentancur, giving them a little bit more cover. So all your game plan just goes down the toilet when Archie Gray gets an injury on Tuesday morning or whatever. All your plans, and all your plans in a position where you're short already. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
to do without those injuries for sure. But 71st minute, Newcastle made a triple substitution. Not often we see this in football. They brought on Asula, Joelinton, and Trippier, and off went Voltemada, Willock, and Kraft. 78th minute, Thomas Frank opted for another change. On come Matthias Tell for Richarlison. 80th minute, Newcastle went for another substitution. On come Guimaraes, as Marc said, and off went Jacob Ramsey. In the 81st minute, after not long being on, former Tottenham player Kieran Trippier found himself in the book. In the 86th minute, Marc, I know you want to talk about this before you do go. Joelinton situation, right? He was booked. I mean, firstly, on the yellow card, he can have no complaints about getting punished, but should it have been further than that?
Well, I've looked at it about 1,000 times today, and that's not an exaggeration. And I've seen it from about 4 different angles. The one that's telling is the one from behind Joelinton. So you've got Kudus in front of him, and then you've got Joelinton. He literally launches himself and wraps his legs around Kudus with both feet off the ground.
Yep.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Ian. Part of the law regarding red cards is being out of control.
Control, yeah.
Yeah. He cannot possibly be in control with both feet off the ground. Admittedly, he makes no contact with the studs. It's a scissor-type challenge, and he wraps his legs around him. Kudus tries to get up, and Joelinton sits on his back and puts his hands on his back to stop him. So Kudus reacts by pushing him off, at which point it's handbags, which that's fine. And you think, right, both players are going to get a yellow for it. Kudus probably because he instigated it. And then from nowhere, and I've seen the still, Joelinton grabs Xabi Simons like that by the scruff of the neck and pushes his head up with his hand. And the referee goes, nah, that's okay. You're still only on a yellow. I don't get it.
No, And
It's
referees very
completely
rarely
bizarre.
will say you've committed one yellow card offence for the tackle and then another yellow card offence. I've seen it, but very rarely.
It's very rare, and we
yellow
had
card offences, one for that, and that's
we
a
had
red goodbye.
Didn't
Never seen
we well, an Arsenal player got done for it a couple of years ago, and we had a very, very similar instance in the North London derby at Tottenham. The last season before last, or last might have been the season before last, and this gets me onto a little bit on Saturday because I've got to jump off in a minute. So Timber fouled the fullback, and I can't think who it was, over the top of the ball. It was a yellow, and then he dribbled on after the referee had blown the whistle, and Vicario tries to pick the ball up, and Timber grabs Vicario with both hands. Vicario just stands there like that, and Vicario got a yellow card, and Timber got nothing more than the yellow for the foul.
Yeah.
My little concern is the referee that day was Jared Gillett. I've just seen who the referee is for Saturday.
Oh no, is it? Piece shit.
It's Jared Gillett. He hates us.
Yeah, the good news though is that Chelsea is on a run of reds right now. So
they've had 7 reds in 9 games or something ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, I think
it's 8-9 if you include their manager too.
Yeah, I've just seen the Liam Delap one from last night. The only thing I can't believe is that it was a second yellow and not a straight red.
Yeah,
I mean, he literally jumps and does
what's he doing?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what goes. He's missed 3 months of football.
Yeah,
his first substitute appearance back, and he does that. It's brilliant. Someone, the league have got, or the FA have got to take Chelsea to task over this. It is literally a red card again.
Didn't we see Kudus get a red against us last year for instigating? Although he threw a punch, though it wasn't.
He did throw. He did throw a punch.
Yeah,
he did throw a punch.
Right.
That must have been interesting when he walked into training for the first time.
There was a great TikTok. There was a great TikTok that Tottenham released. It was like this awkward handshake between the two of them.
Just to finish off, look, I've got nothing against Joe Linton. He's a physical player, and he can be. He sails close to the wind where the law is concerned and what have you. And I've seen a couple of Newcastle fans go, "Oh, Tottenham fans moaning when you've got Romero in your team." Well, because he hasn't been sent off for 2 years.
He's got like 3 yellows in like the last 27
October
games.
2023 was the last red card
against
Chelsea got in the Premier League, and he's got less Premier League red cards than Anthony Gordon. And he's got less Premier League red cards than Mikel Arteta as a manager. So it's just the narrative. Physical players get a poor narrative. Paul Scholes got it because he couldn't tackle. Oh, he couldn't tackle. The professional footballer, you should know how to tackle.
You certainly should. Mark, thank you very much for coming on. I know you've got to go. Where can people find you across social media?
Marc Spurs 1468 on X. To be honest, I don't really use many of the others. I don't have the time anymore. Work is way too busy, which is a good thing. I'm not complaining. Any customers and clients out there or potential clients, I'm not complaining. But that's pretty much where I'm at. I am on Instagram, but that's mostly for my cooking and my food.
Nice stuff. Thank you, Mark, for your time.
No problem. Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Cheers,
thanks.
Always a pleasure being on with you, man. He's gone.
Good stuff. I think you heard that, though. 86th minute, we discussed Jolinton being booked. So was, unfortunately, Mohamed Kudus. 89th minute, Newcastle made a change. On come Anthony Gordon, off come Alanga. So full time it ended Newcastle 2, Tottenham 0. Matt, now the dust has settled, how do you look back on last night? You've described it as almost like a confusing performance. Isn't it really one of those where maybe we're not awful, but you feel like, at the same time, we could do better?
Agreed. I think the game was there for the taking. I just don't think we took the chances well enough. I was talking to Ian before we went live here that I almost think that a positive for us, and he touched on it, is that our calendar is less full. There's less competitions now. So it's easier to balance the injury problem that we're having. And B, I'm of the belief that in the first year under a new manager, it's almost better to be in less competition so you get the most amount of training time on the pitch and instigate, especially when you're changing from a system like Ange and going to Frank, and it's a completely different system, and we've got to sort out the players who can play best in that system and not the specialized skill set. And the other positive is the midfield looked good. The downside was it looked good because we didn't have Bentancur and Polina both in midfield, which I think we're going to continue to have. And so, that's still going to take some work. But I would say that we're not that far off. Newcastle is a tough place to go. Perhaps we lay an egg there, but in the league now we know better for, going there in the, facing them in the league. Overall, I think it's all right, but we're still third in the table and have a shot to go second on the weekend. So,
I mean, having said that, how many times do we say that though? Tottenham got an opportunity to do this,
Yeah.
got an opportunity to go there.
Yes, this is why the term Spursy exists, right? Like we have opportunities and we don't take them, but I just think it's too. I don't want to say fluky goals, but. We had shots
two
to
gifts.
level.
Yeah, gifted it to them, didn't we? Twice.
Yeah.
Frustrating. Thank you very much, Matt. But Ian, I've introduced this recently. What one word would you use, firstly, to describe that performance?
One word.
One word.
Oh, I've got mine.
All gone.
Frustrating.
One word. Frustrating would be one. Understandable, I think, would be another. Given the mitigation of injuries, the inability to rotate with the players he wants to rotate with, I'm not disagreeing with Matt at all. You can compete on four fronts if you've got a decent squad that's fully fit. The players that we didn't have yesterday would have made a half decent team. I think there's 5 or 6 defenders, which sort of doesn't quite help you because you've got Udogie and Romero, Dragusin, Takai, Davis, and what have you. They can't all play, but when you think Maddison, Kulusevski, Solanke, there's a lot of very good players there that could have put a decent performance in. So you cannot compete on every front if you've got 10 players that are good enough to play. We don't know about Takai, I guess. Good enough to play first team football, and aren't available through injury. And I didn't know about Byfield, so that's another one. Because maybe you're not saying he's not ready to play, a cup tie at St James's Park yet, but we know he's a very good player.
Still, it's another player out that you can't turn to if you need them. But thank you both of you for your words on that. Yeah, so frustrating. But Brennan Johnson, Ian, sticking with you, you just couldn't quite get him in the game. It's not really clicking for him at the moment. Of course, finds himself outside the team.
No, and for a lot of the Johnson people that aren't fans of Johnson, he's not actually helping his own cause much. There is a school of thought that he's wasted at right wing, but that's not really his position. That his best position is by some distance playing sort of up alongside a forward. And it would be interesting to see if we wanted to play him in a system that he played in that sort of floating role alongside no good alongside Johnson, but alongside a Moani, for example, picking up little flicks and what have you. Because there's no doubt he knows where the goal is. The one thing about Johnson is he does know where the goal is, and he's got confidence in front of goal. Give him half a chance, he might convert one. But that's a matter of playing around with the system. And when we were playing against Everton, the change in the system seemed to suit him, with Kudos being sort of playing a floating role, but coming in sort of inside right. he had more responsibility to help Porro, and that seemed to help his game. But I think when you just stick him out on the wing, he can often be little boy lost.
Yeah, I would agree. I thought the Everton game was a very good showing for Johnson, and then he did. I mean, he got that one chance, and he absolutely put the wrong spin on it. I mean, it didn't even reach the side of the netting.
Yeah.
So I think part of it is that, last year he was our co-lead scorer with Solanke, right? And then they go and bring in Kudus, who we love. Absolutely was a great signing, but he plays the same position as Johnson, because Johnson you can't stick on the left because he's so right-footed. You can't play him on the left wing. And so now you got a confidence thing, and when he's only getting, a few chances a game, and he's thinking to himself, oh, I have to make this count, otherwise here comes all the talk again. And, he's putting a lot of pressure on himself, as he should. But I agree with Ian that I think his best role is kind of, if he's playing alongside of like if we basically play two right wingers, essentially, that can interchange and float along with each other. Kudus looked really good against Everton, as did Brennan Johnson, kind of playing that role. But unfortunately, you can't play 12 guys and 11 outfield players and make it work. So I think on a regular starting 11, I don't think he's in the starting 11, which is hard to say about, another team's top goal scorer from the previous season not making the starting 11 going forward. But he's either got to learn to use his left foot more, or we've got to change up the way we're building the team, which I don't know that we want to, because then that disrupts the defense and everything else. So he's kind of between a rock and a hard place right now.
Definitely. Ian, lastly, on the review of the Newcastle game, do you think Danso and Paolini have done well as a centre-back partnership, all things considered? Because the makeshift back line, I thought they'd done all right.
I think as a makeshift back line, they did absolutely fine. As I say, absolutely fine. The first goal we've discussed both goals. The ball coming in, I mean, Marc made an interesting point about that Spencer picked up Scarfe for the first goal and for the first corners, and then Kinski. I mean, Kinski stays at home. We don't concede that goal. I thought they both did really well. I think Paolini in particular is such a top class professional that I don't think it mattered where you played him. He would give you 100%. And Danso's been a great signing for the 20 or 30 million, whatever we paid for him, just absolute peanuts. And he's another one that just what you see is what you get. He gives you absolutely everything he's got to give.
And the long throws are pretty nice from Danso too, having that weapon in our back pocket. So I would say for a makeshift center back pairing, they did just fine. We didn't really concede. I mean, yes, the Voltamata goal was in open play, but that was way more on Kinski than others. But I think for the most part, they held up just fine.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's shift the discussion to Chelsea then in the Premier League this weekend. Hopefully we'll be joined by a Chelsea fan just a little bit as it logs on. But Matt, I'll start with you. How do you feel ahead of this game? Of course, London derby.
Chelsea's always a tough one for us. I mean, you can go back to the November, 2023 game, first 10 unbeaten for Ange, and then play Chelsea and everything gets undone in a single game between, red cards and injuries and whatnot. But it's always a tough one. I think with the way that Chelsea's playing right now, I feel cautiously optimistic that we can get a result here. There are some interesting numbers in terms of records that I was seeing in that, Frank did pretty decently against Chelsea in his, I believe, 8 Premier League games at Brentford. However, he never beat Chelsea at Brentford. They were all at Stamford Bridge when they won. So that's interesting. And then Chelsea does have the most wins of any Premier League team against us at, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So there's kind of some, we faced this same record when we went up to Everton and nobody beat, obviously that just opened, but nobody beaten Everton. And then we have the best record on the road. And so which was going to, I think if we get our normal rotation of players, like Van de Ven is back, we can hope Romero's back. But even if he isn't, Van de Ven and Danzo's good enough. I think we've got a pretty good shot here. It's certainly getting a result, if not winning, and flipping our home record and starting to get that going.
Yeah, exactly that. No, thank you very much. Ian, how do you feel about this game? Do you think we need a better performance in this one?
Yeah, I think absolutely. And I think if you want Frank out, then please just give your head a wobble, a big wobble.
Seriously.
I mean, yeah, there's people.
How are we not pleased with like who?
Yeah,
who are you pleased with?
Give the man a chance. It wasn't my choice, but by God, give the man a chance. This is big for us. It's big for us because our home record at the moment, as the league games, is played 4, lost 2, drawn 1, won 1, and that was against Burnley in the first game. I think it's really. This is when you look at the context of the season. This game is really, really massive. Because it's massive because it's Chelsea. It's massive because we can go second. It's massive because we can get if we can get the home form right, having just lost our unbeaten away record, we really could be cooking, particularly as players are going to come back. We talk about the injury crisis, but injury crisis by definition aren't permanent.
Right.
None of the players apart from Maddison are out long term. The rest of them should be back. There'll be other injuries, of course, but you would expect most of the players we're talking about will be back before Christmas, and we've got another international break. So if we can get the players back and cooking without sustaining too many more injuries, and we're still in a good position, even top 5, 6 of the league, the FA Cup to come, in with a chance of getting into the top 24 anyway of the Champions League. We're in a really, really good position. Plus, I expect if players are available, the board will be generous with funds to get the players in. But losing on Saturday would be a massive, massive blow. That would give you played 5, lost 3, drawn 1 at home. Chelsea, I think, would go above us in the league, which would again be disappointing because if they lose, I mean, I presume the guy that's coming on is a Chelsea supporter. Their manager is under pressure. I mean, they spend an awful lot of money, and you're trying to blend the team from all those ingredients. They get beat. We give them a good beat. Their manager's suddenly under pressure. It's a ridiculous game that we've got at the moment. But you've got to be cautiously optimistic here.
Yeah, talking about the difference in home and road form, I heard, I don't remember where, it might have been on the broadcast, either after Everton or before Newcastle. They were saying if you look at the road form table, Spurs are first. But if you look at the home form table, Spurs are 17th.
Yeah. Oh,
and so that was just you look at the record and you get it, but that dichotomy of results is not, or that juxtaposition, I should say, is not sustainable. So I would agree that this is a huge game. But I do like Frank's record against Chelsea, at least at Brentford, when he was theoretically undermanned. With that team.
It's a big game for both clubs for different reasons.
definitely is. And of course, being a London derby makes it even bigger. And I have got a Chelsea fan on. Would you like to introduce myself, my friend? Thank you for coming on. If you can hear me.
He's on mute too.
He's on mute.
Yeah, I can hear you. Good evening, guys. How you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. Thanks so much for coming on. Would you like to tell the people a bit about what you do on social media? Because you've got nearly 30,000 followers.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, kind of. I actually do a lot of football analysis and the Chelsea page mostly, but mostly football tactics and analyzing styles of play. Unfortunately, Chelsea is almost like a full-time job. It's kind of harder to analyze lots of other teams as much. So I can understand that, as you have done so well for yourself as well. So well done to you guys as well. So that's what I do on Twitter. I also have like a YouTube page too that I just started to do the same thing. So it's an honor to be here as well.
Yes, it's great to have you. Thank you so much. And sticking with you, on Tottenham, firstly, what have you made on how we've started the season, but also the job that our new manager, Thomas Frank, has done? What do you reckon?
Actually, to be fair, I've been a bit surprised in the sense that, Spurs, especially in the transfer window, to be fair, you guys really did a lot of good stuff. Got Xavi Simons from under our noses, yeah. So, of course, a lot of Chelsea fans weren't so happy about that. I being one of them, to be honest. So, but I think that for him, he has taken a while to get up and running. But Thomas Frank himself, it's been steady. I wouldn't say it's been free flowing. So, but I think that, of course, as a new manager, it might take a while to get style of play to his players. But I think it's been something that Spurs has taken well. You have good players. Kudus. Also, Kudus is someone that a lot of Chelsea fans also wanted. But but I think in terms of style of play, you're getting there. At times, you've had good performances, and most of it hasn't been. I also gauge your feelings too as well, since you're Spurs fans and you watch a lot of games. But I feel that there's so much more to come from you guys in that sense. What do you guys think as well?
Well, first I can say that as a Spurs fan, I wish we had gotten Pedro Neto and he hadn't been stolen out from under our noses. I would take Pedro Neto at Tottenham. I think for at least my point of view on Chelsea, and I have a good buddy of mine who's a Chelsea fan, so I've watched a decent amount of Chelsea as well. It's hard to tell what you all have given the amount of reds you guys seem to just keep piling up, and then you don't have the same rotation week after week. And obviously Cole Palmer being injured for a few months hasn't helped. Liam Delap being out hasn't helped you all get rotation, but you look as poised as anybody to finish top four for sure. We were just talking before you got on how this is a huge game for both sides and could kind of springboard seasons here for either side, depending on who wins.
Honestly,
my question for you is if Tottenham win this game, is your manager under big pressure?
Wow, that's a good question, Ian, because I think it might not be under pressure from the board per se, the club, the higher ups in the club, but I would think naturally it will be under pressure from fans of the club, because some fans, it's not news to everyone that at the grounds, especially at Stamford Bridge, the fans don't react well to the style of play as well, in terms of moving the ball slowly, possession style of play. And the last manager that did something like that was, of course, Maurizio Sarri. And it was not really nice from a lot of players. I mean, the fans of the club to per se, because we're changing the style of play. Stamford Bridge, Chelsea has always been a quick style of play, counter-attacking football with Mourinho and to Antonio Conte. A lot of the successful coaches have used that style successfully. So it's definitely a new thing. Still, funny enough, I can say it in 2025 to Stamford Bridge. So yeah, I think a lot of the fans still do not like that style. And I, being a tactical analyst, of course, I would understand why we're playing that way. It's so funny because a lot of the fans still say, I don't want Pep Guardiola's style of play here. It does not work at Chelsea, things like that. So if you can still hear that, so what happens if Pep even comes here and has a season like last season at Man City, at Chelsea? So yeah, I think it's a lot of fans are not really liking it, and as well as some of his decisions, especially off the bench, bringing the players off the bench to the pitch, taking time to do that. I've criticized him for that as well. I think he has mentioned that he could also make better decisions off the bench. I think it's been overstated a bit, but I think a lot of things is growing at the club that is not just the manager's fault. It could be the club having to improve at those certain things than just Maresca himself. So, but of course, in football, everything's about the manager, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. No, you're right. And before we move on, can I ask you about discipline? Because you've got 6 red cards in your last 9 games. It would be 7 if you included your manager. Have you got a bit of a disciplinary problem? Do you think Maresca can sort it and sort it fast?
At this point, it's quite obvious we have a discipline problem. We could deflect all we want, but like 6 red cards is mental. Like, how do you have that amount of? It's got to be a record at this point. Like, in all competitions, I've never seen that in my life. As a fan of, as a football watcher, for like, I've never seen a team accumulate this much red cards in such a. But I would say that a lot of it is down to youthful exuberance, and it's like I could see, for example, Esteval, even in the past few games, to me, he has of course, he's one of our best performers. But at times, you could see that rashness of I want to get the ball back really quickly, and when I lose the ball, which is good, but like there's a way to go about it, and he could just make a foul and get a yellow card. He tried against Wolves. He tried overhead kick, and it was probably not the best time to try it because it struck the player on the head, the Wolves player. So I was like, "Yo, calm down," that kind of thing. So, and you could see Gusto's tackle against Forest was like, "Why you did that tackle at that time of the game?" Joe Pedro's high leg against was it Benfica? Yeah. So some of this, but someone's red card, like Maresca's red card against Liverpool, you could say you could then question the rules of the game. That if a manager is trying to celebrate last minute with his fans, should he be getting that red card? Yeah, apparently from the rules. But yes, those are just the nuances of it. All red cards are not the same, but a lot of it is just that youthful innocence and trying to do something, but some of it is just mental. Like the Lab's red card was just like, why? So I think Maresca got fed up. That's why he said what he said about the Lab. So yeah, it's quite a discipline problem at the club. Yellow cards. Then you can now look at last season's yellow cards and you can start talking. Like it's quite a lot since Pochettino's era. So I think all this started when the club went youthful, went the youthful way basically. So I think that there's a problem.
Thank you very much. Sounds very windy where you are, but thank you very much for your thoughts there. Let's end with them lineups and score predictions. I tell you what, before I do, Ian, very, very brief question. Atmosphere, how important is it in this game? Because I've been, as a season ticket holder, very disappointed with atmosphere this season.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
That's right, I've asked Ian. You're right, you're all good.
Yeah, I mean, have I seen 2 games this season? No, I've only seen 1. I've only seen Burnley this season so far. the atmosphere was fine. First match of the season, Thomas Frank's first game, got an early goal, which was a good goal. Got a brilliant second from, probably our best goal of the season from Richarlison, and a third. It was comfortable. The sun was shining. Everything was great. Obviously, when you're getting beat at home and the team's not playing well, it is difficult for. I think this expectation, the fans are going to be jumping around singing while you're playing turgid football and getting beat 2-0 is just not happening. I think it's important. That the team gives the fans a lift and the fans give the team a lift, and that's how it works. If we can start well, we can get an early goal. The crowd are making a lot of noise. It's best all round for everybody. Apart from Chelsea, of course. But you really hope that with 5:30 under the lights, Tottenham's always been good under the lights anyway, always. And I think, big game, get a good fast start, win the game, and everybody is then absolutely rocking, and it puts last night out of everybody's minds.
Yeah, I'll agree with Ian real quick. Like when. To compare it to stateside sports, the same thing. Like, I would go to college football games or college basketball games here, and the fans start pretty good, but if the team comes out flat, the fans die down until the team proves to the fans that there's something to cheer for. So I think the team's got to come out and give the fans something to get loud about before the fans kind of reciprocate it. And secondly, an interesting stat here about Maresca. The 2 wins that Chelsea have on the road this year, West Ham and Forest, both of those managers are no longer in those positions because he beat Graham Potter and Ange. So that is interesting that the only road wins have come against now dismissed managers.
Interesting. I didn't know that. We'll skip lineups because I know some of you got to go. Let's just do score predictions. Matt, I'll come to you first. Who do you think's going to score in the game, and what do you think the final score will be?
I would take 2-1 Spurs win. I think Kudus finds the back of the net, and I'll say Richie finds the back of the net. I think he makes up for last night and puts one in. I'm not sure who scores for Chelsea. They've got about 7 guys who could score, but that's what I would say is 2-1 Spurs.
Okay, thank you very much. Ian, can I get your score prediction and score as well?
I'll take any win from anyhow. I'll take a dodgy penalty, an offside. I'll take anything you want. I'm going to go 3-1. I've got a feeling there's a big performance coming. The players know they need to put in a big performance at home. The next 3 games, the next 8 days, and Copenhagen on Tuesday night as well, plus Manchester United. I'll be down for that. I'm going 3-1 Tottenham. I don't know what the team's going to be. I've got a picture in my head, but we'll maybe give that more thought. I think Muani will play. I think Muani will score. I'm not sure Richarlison is going to play. I'm not sure I would want him to play. Again, don't know if Odegaard is going to be there. But if you're going to play Kudus and Muani through the middle, Richarlison left is a much more potent attacking force. But sorry, that's my mouse just falling on the floor. So I'm going. I think we need a big performance. 3-1 Tottenham.
Love that. Love the confidence. Thank you very much. Oh, I was going to ask the Chelsea fan, but he's just left. So we won't ask him. Tell you what, I'll give my score prediction in his absence. I think, it's going to be tough. Go on, I'll go back at Tottenham and go 2-1 Spurs. I totally agree. I think we need a strong home performance. I think we need a strong home result for once. And I also think we need a good atmosphere. So all those 3 things that we haven't seen really come together would be lovely. But have you got any final comments before we finish?
No, just always a pleasure being on with you, Harry.
No, always a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, always fun to be on this pod. And let's hope for at least a result. I will take a result at this point at home. Certainly rooting for the win.
Absolutely. Thank you both. Right, let's go through and see where you can find you on the socials. Matt, I will start with you. Tell people where they can follow you on social media.
I am at the Salesman. It's right there in front of you. But if you're just listening, it's TheSelzman, and that's both on X and Blue Sky. Though I'm more likely to respond on Blue Sky at this point, as my timeline on X has gotten way too toxic. So I just deleted that from my phone. I don't need that in my life. But I'm still on there. I just don't respond as quickly. But those are the main two spots you can find me.
You mean you're not on Truth Social?
Oh God. There's nothing truthy or socially about Truth Social, so no.
Let's leave that one there. Thank you, though, Matt, very much for coming on. Make sure to follow Matt on all socials that he is on. Ian, thank you very much for coming on as always. Where can people find you?
Pleasure.
Also,
yeah, I am on X, and I don't know. I've edited it out. I need to put it back in at Shaggy1712 1712. You can find me there. Always follow Spurs supporters back. Perhaps more importantly, now I'm co-host of Spurs, or co-owner of Spurs Die House with Adrian. I host a show on Sunday nights, which at the moment are going out at 9 p.m. British time, GMT, 9 p.m. British time, GMT. And we'll be doing a Chelsea review at 9 p.m. on Sunday. Hope to see as many of you there as possible.
Absolutely. Make sure to be there. Thank you very much, Ian, for having me. Thank you, both of you, for coming on. If you want to follow me, you can at Harry Scarfe 2 across all socials. Like, subscribe to the channel if you're listening on YouTube. Don't forget to drop a follow and a 5-star review. If you're listening via audio, via any podcast platform, by all means as well, let us know where you're listening from and what time of the day it is. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully next time you'll be hearing from me and the podcast will be talking